Our last entrepreneur of the evening is Marc from INETCO.
Great, thank you very much. So first introduction to INETCO. 7 years ago, INETCO was a startup. There were 9 engineers, and then an acquaintance of mine, the CEO, joined. And he called me in one day and he said, I want you to just sit down with my CTO. We've got this really cool real-time network monitoring platform. I said, okay, I don't know what one of those is, but I'll spend some time with him. So 3 hours later, I left still, I knew what a real-time network monitoring platform was, but I went back and talked to the CEO and I said, what's it for? And he said, what are you doing on Monday? So I became employee number 11. Today, 7 years forward, we have 50 customers around the world, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we do. We are all about transactions. So we took that real-time network monitoring platform and we figured out how to use it to reconstruct transactions moving around a banking environment, a retail environment, a telco environment, you name it. We've had the most success with that in the finance environment, which is part of why I'm here today. And the neat part is, we're at this fantastic point where just about every bank I talk to is keenly interested in harnessing all the transactions going around their environment to try to figure out how to serve us as consumers better. Because they're getting disrupted left and right, their businesses are being disintermediated on the payments side, on the retail banking side, from folks in the personal financial management side that I've spoken to today. There's lots of different ways that it's become a real challenge. So banks have collected transaction data forever. They've got it. It's there somewhere. But good luck getting at it for most of them. And really that's the problem that we set out to solve, was how do you get this omni-channel customer experience, regardless of how the customer chooses to interact? How do you understand what they're doing, make sure it's being delivered effectively? How do you understand what a customer wants to do, what we want as consumers out of our bank? And third, how do you meet a growing range of regulatory requirements that all involve a really deep knowledge of what your customers are doing? This is an analyst quote. Analyst quotes, those of you who don't know the rules, always have to have at least 2 statistics in them. So this one has 2 statistics, so it meets that criteria. It's a great quote, it reinforces it, but I like to make one joke about it, which is 53% of banks strongly feel they need a forward-looking view of customers to be competitive. So I always ask the inverse. What are the other 47% doing to be competitive? It doesn't make sense. Anyways, polls are polls. So what is transaction data? This is a little bit like, this is a highly, highly, highly simplified version of what most banks look like from an IT standpoint. They have all sorts of different systems, whether you choose to do a point-of-sale transaction, mobile transaction, an ATM one. The rainbow of colors here is not just because I like color, it's because they're all different applications from different vendors, written in different languages. They're all different. It's a complete rainbow, essentially, of solutions. And they're trying to figure out who did we serve, where did they interact, the basic journalism questions. Anyone who's ever tried to write a story or thought about how to write a newspaper article, you need your who, what, where, when, how. Banks are trying to figure this out. It's hard to get at this data. Different groups in the bank own it. There's all sorts of silos. There's technology barriers, there's organizational barriers, there's regulatory barriers. It's just a lot of work. So often, they're 6 months late in getting the information they need to make some kind of decision. And what we're trying to do is accelerate that. So we have 2 use cases for our products. One is for the operations teams, the people who are supposed to keep all of our banking systems running smoothly. By following transactions, they can see how is a system performing, where are transactions breaking down, why couldn't you log into your online banking this morning, why did your credit card transaction fail at a Tesco just a couple of minutes ago? Was it because you didn't have money in your account, or was it actually because of a technical failure and the bank just made you feel bad? Second piece, and by the way, that is a huge issue. You can really disappoint your customer quickly and cause them to really question their financial status if a transaction doesn't go through. Second piece is people more like me on the marketing and the product side within banks are trying to figure out how do we re-engage consumers, what products and services do we offer. I can't remember the last time I was in a bank branch, so where do branches really, where are they necessary, where are they important, who needs to use them? And so they all need to understand transaction data as well. Our secret sauce comes back to this network monitoring platform that our CTO invented probably almost a decade ago now. And we have this unique ability to capture these transactions as they're flowing across the network. So we don't need to modify this application. We don't care what it's built in, whether it's written in purple language or orange language or green language. I'm very technical, by the way, for those of you who are wondering. So if you want me to get deeper than that, I'll go as deep as you want to go. So even if it's written in green language and it talks to something in blue language and there's a little bit of yellow language, it's still fine. And we can handle that kind of diversity. This is very unique. Anyone else who's going to go into this environment is going to try to rip the data out of each of these pieces or try to monitor something that's on your mobile platform. We have a very special, unique way of doing this. And we productize it in two ways. We started off productizing it for IT teams to understand how their systems were performing. That's worked really well. The bulk of our customers are those. The only problem with IT teams, nobody gives them much money to spend. And when you're running a startup, you like customers who have money to spend. So we came up with a second product, which is an analytics product which sells to the line of business where there are real budgets to understand customers better. And so why am I here today? I'm here for two reasons. Number one, I'm really hoping someone in the room has between $5 and $10 million they'd like to put in growth capital to the business. Happy to talk to you afterwards. I'll be over here to the side. Or if you're a software developer, you've got an analytics play, you need access to transaction data. We have very privileged access to transaction data in a lot of financial environments, and I'd love to talk to you if you've got some ideas on how you'd want to use it. And with that, we'll open up for questions.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah. Where have you deployed this solution right now?
Well, we've deployed it in some customers that have yellow boxes, some that have, sorry. Two places. Our first customers came in the payment processing space, so large card processors, ATM processors, companies like that. Some of them, FIS, Jack Henry in the US, TNS here in the UK uses our software. And then we began a push into retail banks. So we have some credit union customers, we have some very large banks. One of the top 5 global banks uses our software now. And that's really where we've had the traction.
Can you give me a couple of examples of benefits you've helped these banks realize then?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So one of the biggest benefits is kind of a funny one, which is our bank customers know about problems before their customers call. And that sounds incredibly obvious, but for an IT team, that is your bread and butter.
But technical problems then, kind of?
Technical problems. You never want to be caught flat-footed, right? So that's on the technical side. On the line of business side, some of our first customers are banks with large fleets of ATMs. And one of their big decisions right now is, where do we keep our ATMs? Where do we build new ones? What kind of ATMs do we put out there? Because they're basically expensive boxes full of cash. So you really want to think carefully about where you put them. So the benefits we're able to offer is really help a bank rationalize their ATM estate and better serve their customers through it. If you're going to spend $100,000 on a big box full of money, you want to see what other things you can get it to do. Can it sell stamps? Can it top up mobile airtime? What else do my customers want to do there? And we help them make those decisions.
Cool. Cheers.
Mark, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.